Bob Tasca is the vice president of the Tasca Automotive Group, the CEO of Tasca Racing, and most recently the 2022 Topeka Heartland National Champion. Bob, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
It's always great to be back with you guys.
Bob, Kara and I have had a chance to get ready for this event. Kara more than I, okay? And BG showed us a video that you did recently where you are involved on NHRA with the YES Youth Educational Services Program, and you addressed high school students who are learning about becoming a tech. Bob, with the demand for techs being so high, talk to us today about why somebody should consider being an automotive technician.
I think the biggest problem in the industry is a lack of awareness. I just don't think people understand just how exciting the field is. And with Ford Motor Company, Motorcraft, and NHRA, we put together a program within the NHRA YES program to bring this message out to over 30,000 high schoolers from around the country, all different markets. And they come out, and a lot of these kids, it's not even on their radar screen. I know it because after I get done speaking, they come up to me, and the questions they have are incredible. So it's been great to get in front of these kids to share this message, along with the advisors, the counselors, the teachers that bring these kids out. And even some of them get very surprised. It's not like when my grandfather started back in the 60s, they called him a grease monkey. I mean, literally, his family was ashamed that he went into the automotive technician space. Today, we call our technicians electrical engineers for a variety of reasons. Just the level of sophistication of these vehicles, the knowledge that you need, and it's only getting more and more and more as you look ahead to these electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles. The technology in these cars are incredible.
Wow. I can only imagine what demand is in our market right now. So it kind of leads me to a question that I've been thinking about lately with our own stores here that I'm a part of and across the industry as a whole. Do you know what the average turnover rate is of technicians?
So I don't know the exact number. I can only share like within our group. But clearly the entry-level tech that comes in, and you know this from talking to dealer friends around the country, they come in out of high school or some of these Votech schools and, limited on tools, and, they get thrown into the fire. It comes down to the commitment at our level. We're the ones that have to look in the mirror on that. Do we put our techs in a position to win? And part of that is in our group, we have a tool kit program with Mac Tools, where we have a starter kit so they can walk in the door with the toolbox and all the tools that they need. And if they stay with us for 1 year, they keep everything. It's their tools. So, giving them the tools, giving them the mentor time that they need to come up to speed. We have quick service locations, quick lube locations in all our Ford stores, which is a great, kind of training ground to get the young techs up to speed. But we find that once they turn the corner, once they start getting their certifications, and along with certifications comes raises, right? The more you know, the more you earn. The stability of the tech base becomes fantastic. I mean, you got senior master technicians that are earning well into the six figures. They're not going anywhere, right? But it's the entry level tech, which is the highest turn. And I think that can vary wildly by dealership, depending on how much time they invest and what their internal training program is for these young technicians.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Bob, you've also mentioned, I heard you say that this is one of the few careers that just 5 years out of high school, it has the potential for somebody to earn up to six figures. Not everybody, okay, but you've talked about not just the skill sets, but the mindsets you need to be a successful technician in the market today. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I open up my speech, I'm with a couple of panelists that talk about, how the need, the demand for technicians. And I look at the kids, they're all looking down at us. And I say, you know what I do when I sit in a format like this? If I'm you looking down at us, making this pitch, I say, so what? So what you need technicians? So what the industry is desperate for technicians? What's in it for me? why is this a good long-term decision for me and my family? And I kind of boil it down to three simple things. The number one question I get asked is, how much am I going to make? And how long is it going to take me to get to the top of my career path? And, the beauty about being an automotive technician is I can introduce you to techs 5 years out of high school that are earning or well on their way to earning a six-figure career, and they put the time in, right? I can also introduce you to technicians in my company, been with me for 20 years, that are nowhere near a six-figure career. So you have to put the work in, but the earning opportunity is fantastic. The second thing I talk about is job portability, right? So life changes. I'm talking to, guys and gals just coming out of high school. You get married, you have kids, and, 6 years down the road, you're going to move. Well, a lot of career choices that you pick, you got to start over. You got to start at the bottom. If you can even find a job, right, in the career that you're in. Well, in our world, you can pick the phone up as a certified tech, call any dealer anywhere in the country. They'll pay to move you, probably give you a raise the first day you walk in. That's the level of demand. And when you look at job portability, it's pretty unparalleled. The last thing I talk about is job stability. And it wasn't that long ago, just a few years ago, I talked to all these kids and say, you don't know what a recession is. You've never been through anything like this. And you don't know what it's like to go home and to have to look your family in the eye and say, I lost my job. And I don't know if we're going to be able to pay the mortgage. I mean, these are life-changing events that you never, ever have to live through. But we've all been through the worst. They literally closed our country down through COVID. And I can tell you, in our company, there wasn't one technician, not one, that came to work and didn't have work to do. Some chose not to come to work for health reasons. But, through the difficult times in our industry, when recessions hit, we may sell a few less cars, that's for sure. But people have to keep their cars running. And a lot of times through recessions, we see our fixed operations actually grow. So when you're coming out of high school and you got to start to put all this together, where am I going to go work? What am I going to do? What's my earning opportunity? And you start to look at the benefits that the automotive space has to offer. It's truly unparalleled. And also, Ted, I share with these kids, let's say you don't want to be a tech your whole life, right? You come in and I can introduce you to GMs of our company. I can introduce you to service managers, fixed ops directors, people that started as technicians and ended up moving their way up the line in a car dealership, because the truth is, if you know how a car works and you can fix it, you can do anything you want in a car dealership. And, my grandfather started as a mechanic. I started as a mechanic, and there's no better place to start, in my opinion, than as a technician.
And Bob, as a follow-up, you're so right. Kara and I just had a panel where we interviewed three gentlemen who have come up as technicians and are now fixed ops directors at three different dealerships in different parts of the country. And Bob, they have passion in their voice. They have the magic, and it resonates. And the audience can, Bob, you can feel that because they came up, through the ranks, and now they are leaders, in the dealership.
Well, and they know what they're talking about, right? You can't fake it in our industry. You either know the machine or you don't know the machine. And the customer can smell that out instantly. And in our company, we could introduce you to many fixed op directors that came up as technicians. And it's just a great place to start in the field. And, it's not like what it used to be, right? Greasy going home. And, these guys come in with plastic gloves. They're like going to a hospital working on some of these vehicles. And it's only going to accelerate with electrification. The skill set, what's going to be required to fix these cars in the future are going to be very different than what we've done in the past.
Yeah. And you talk a lot about passion, and I've heard the phrase work hard, play hard, but I've heard you, Mr. Tasca, say work harder than you play. So touch on that a little bit. What do you mean by that phrase that I've heard you use a few times?
Yeah, so the announcer, when I get done, talking about technicians and earning opportunity. He says, well, Bob, how come you have some techs that are 100,000 plus a year and some that are nowhere near 100,000 a year? And, I go into, what I think are three key things that I've been blessed to pick up from very successful people that I've been around in my life. The first is the old saying, work hard, play hard. We've all heard it. I asked the kids, everyone raises their hands. I said, well, I'm here to tell you, make sure you work harder than you play. And the bottom line is there's no compromise for a great work ethic. I can go up to any manager in our company 1 week on the job, doesn't matter how much experience, how much money the employee has, man or woman, and say, hey, what do you think about the new guy or gal? And 1 week or less, guy instantly can say, gonna make it, most likely not gonna make it. And it's got nothing to do with anything other than work ethic. They come in early, work hard, ask questions, and leave late. You can just see the effort that they're putting in, and it's so critical to success. The second thing I tell all the kids, be responsible with your life. And I'm not talking about drugs and alcohol and criminal background. I mean, if they haven't figured it out by high school, they're already in trouble, right? I talk to them about being responsible with their time, right? And my grandfather taught me early on, if there is a shortcut to success, there's not many, but there is one that we've discovered. If you ask the right people the right questions and remember the answers, you can really, and that's not necessarily the good news. There's also the failures in successful people's lives. You learn from both. And nowadays, these young kids, they have a choice when they wake up. They can hang out with the winners or they can hang out with the losers, right? I mean, that's just right in front of you, black and white. And for me, and all the successful people that I know, we choose to hang out with the winners. We want to be around the winners because if we can figure out what they've done and seek their advice, we can get there quicker. And then the last thing, I always tell people to have goals in your life, right? So one's not enough because sometimes things don't work out, and 10's too many because you won't get any done. But if you can pick off, 2 or 3 things that you really want to focus on in your life, work hard, ask the successful people in those trades, what they've done to win. Success is, it's almost guaranteed. I mean, I just can't see how you can't not be successful when you follow those principles. And, as I related to the auto industry, it's just a fantastic opportunity for young talent getting involved in a new career to align themselves with great organizations. And I tell the kids, I said, listen, and I'll tell the fixed ops directors out there, I said, walk into a dealership. Okay, ask to talk to the service manager. You're an aspiring technician. And pick the dealer that you feel is going to put you in the best position to win. And that comes down to whether it's tool support or training support or mentorships. I mean, one shoe doesn't fit all in our industry, and some dealers do it better than others. And those are the dealers that you want to align yourself with.
Yeah.
Bob, we have a number of techs coming up on the roundtable who've been on previous roundtables, all different ages. One of them, and Kara, I'm referring to Marco Zwanenberg, is a master tech, and he's a little bit older. Bob, he's been a tech all his life, and I recall he took a picture of his hands, and he posted that on social media, and he put in the post, to customers, look at these hands, and I want to show you what I do for a living, and the things that you may not be aware of what I do. Bob, does age or experience contribute to being a successful tech?
No, I tell you, and there's more and more females joining this industry as well. In our 70-year history, the quickest person, which was just under 4 years, to go from 0 to a senior master technician was a woman. And I can introduce you to young techs, men or women who are absolutely fast-tracked, either senior master technicians or well on their way. And I can introduce you to techs that have been with us for 20 or 30 years. So I don't think it has anything to do with age, gender, race. It simply comes down to desire. Okay, the ones that wake up each and every day to try to aspire to be the top of their field are the ones that win. And I think that you're going to see in our industry a major shift coming. Okay, You're going to have maintenance and light repair, which to some extent is going to shrink, especially with electrification. And then you're going to see, and I call them electrical engineers today, the tech of tomorrow is going to be a real electrical engineer. The level of sophistication, programming, software, updates that's going to go into these cars, there's techs that are going to be left behind that don't keep up with the certification. So it's more important now than ever to really make a commitment to the trade and aspire to be the best that you can be. And that's through training and certification, and a lot of hard work.
And I'm assuming, Bob, you've talked a lot about your grandfather. I assume that he was one of your biggest mentors growing up.
Yeah, no question. I mean, he started our family business, and very proud to have continued what he started. But he was more comfortable in the back shop fixing cars than he was in the showroom. I mean, he really came up through the back end of the business, and probably why our group is so fixed ops focused. I spend more of my time in fixed ops than I do on the front end of the business. My cousins help me out there, but I just love parts and service. I love fixed ops. I love being with the techs. I love seeing what they're working on. I have a kind of a line, when I walk through the store, particularly the stores that I visit out of town, first place I go is the service department. And I love to talk to, what are you working on? And, you want a conversation starter with technicians, just walk up to them and say, what are you working on? And it's amazing what you can learn, just from talking to the technicians.
Going back to Bob Sr., I recall that he wrote in his book, and I listened to the audiobook as well, Bob, that he was working as a technician on a weekend, and he had a car he was working on very early in his career, and he turned that vehicle around and repaired it for a customer who was away on a trip and needed that in a hurry, and that ended up being a very, very prominent individual. Bob, would you mind just tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, it's amazing. You never know who you're going to meet, right? That's what they say. My grandfather did exactly what you said, Ted. Gets a letter in the mail a few weeks later and said, "Dear Bob, just so impressed with the level of service I received at your dealership. Please don't forget to thank the fat mechanic out back. Can't remember his name. Ernest R. Breach, CEO of Ford Motor Company." And didn't know that my grandfather was the dealer, and my grandfather took care of him. They became very, very friendly. But early on in my grandfather's career, that had a profound effect on my grandfather, because Ernest was a little embarrassed about what took place, invited him to the New York Auto Show to meet Henry Ford II he wanted my grandfather to be just an incredible example of customer service at Ford stores. And and then my grandfather became very friendly with Henry Ford II. So that relationship that my grandfather shared with Ford, that we share with Ford, started because a customer broke down in East Providence, Rhode Island, happened to be the CEO of Ford Motor Company at the time, and my grandfather took care of him.
And Bob, I know Carol wants to ask you about women in the business, but before I do, let me just come back to what you just said. Tasca was also known and is known for some of the things that you did very early on with Bob Sr. And your father as well, where you did things that were for the consumer. I recall the phrase, be there for the taker, not the maker. Things like opening on Saturdays, Bob. You were one of the first dealers, maybe the first, to do that for service. And also to have a designated person who would work with the customer, not just work on the car, a different person to fix the customer versus the car. Just tell us about that if you could.
Yeah, my grandfather had quick service in the 60s. We have pictures of it. And he just felt that he had the signs over the top of the doors, just like we do today. And he was just way ahead of his curve. I mean, my grandfather, the customer, was the center of everything that he did. We have a phrase that we use today: "You will be satisfied." That's our motto. It's on every piece of paper we print. And when a customer isn't satisfied, they use it against us. I'm not satisfied. And it really is a challenge that we challenge our organizations today, to satisfy the customer. It's the cornerstone of everything that we do. Quick service, mobile service we're getting into now, pickup and delivery, just going the extra step to to wow the customer.
Wow. It sounds like y'all have been staples in the automotive industry for quite some time, and now you're leading the way after your grandfather. And as a woman in the industry and a young one being that, I like asking everybody that I talk to that I consider mentors in the automotive industry, how can we collectively encourage other women to be a part of the automotive industry?
Well, when I speak, I kind of relate it to the race car, right? So the race car doesn't know there's a guy driving it or a woman driving it. Has no idea. When I pull up alongside a competitor, happens to be a woman, I mean, I'm competing. I don't care who's in the other car, right? So I think any industry, I don't care whether it's auto or non-auto, it's the effort that you put in, it's your work ethic, it's your desire to be successful. It don't matter if you're a man or woman, right? So to me, I've never looked at it that way. I look at the person, the individual, and the effort that they put in. And today we're seeing more and more women technicians than we've ever seen, and I think that'll continue to grow. There's women throughout our entire organizations, from GMs to service writers to sales managers. I mean, you name it. It ultimately comes down to what you want to do and how much effort you want to put in.
Wow.
Love it. Bob, last question for today. When you won the Topeka Heartland national champion, I saw the video, and Kara did her best to mimic that video. You said, "How about that BG machine?" And you pointed to the car. Tell us what BG has done for the Tasca Automotive family and for your consumers as well, being BG customers.
Well, let me take you back a few days before that win. So on Wednesday, I'm out in Wichita at BG's World Headquarters,
Yeah.
and I got an opportunity to meet the team, the engineering behind the liquid, and I was blown away. I've been around BG my whole life, but what I saw at the engineering side of their business and the amount of time, money, effort, engineering, testing that they do in their products. This is not fluid in a bottle with a label. Let me tell you that. And you can just appreciate the attention to detail and the energy they put into their products. And it makes sense why they have the best warranties in the industry for customers that use the BG product, whether it's engine, transmission, coolant, brakes, you name it. So after going through that, I'm excited getting into Topeka, and we're coming off a pretty hot streak, going through the West Coast, winning Sonoma, coming into Topeka, Kansas, and then we get the win. And it was a huge win for BG. This is the first year that they've branded the car. BG's always been on my car, but it's the first year that they've been a primary sponsor on it. The car looks fantastic. I'm sure you'll show it to the viewers. And we got that win, and it really, for us, it's been a turning point of our season. We went on to win the next race, semifinal finish in Indianapolis, and we're one of the top cars now to run for the championship. And it takes an army to bring one of these cars out, and sponsors that support us. And BG is at the top of the page. But I just wish I could have taken my entire company through their engineering. And those that are watching that use BG, or if you don't, certainly consider it, because it's incredible technology. It's great value to the customer. It's great value to the dealer. I'll tell you this, Ted, when we look at tires, brakes, batteries, BG, alignments, and rotations and balances, when we take our 6 key selling area, BG is now the #1 gross generating product that we sell in our service departments across our 15 rooftops. So it's a great profit opportunity, and it comes with a great warranty. I mean, we use their warranty every month to loyal customers that use the product. And when you can hand them a check for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, over and above what they can get, it really blows them away. And that's why we support BG. And they're on my race car. I tell people all the time, there's nobody on my race car because they give me a check. I have to believe in their product, and we have to use their product in order for me to represent them. And, you know, I can't be any more proud of representing BG than I already am.
Well, Bob Tasca, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable and the Fixed Ops community and all the technicians and their leaders watching today, thank you, and we're very grateful to you.
Oh, it's always great to be on. And Carrie, you look pretty good in that fire suit. I hope BG doesn't swap me out for you. I still like driving.
If you ever need a break, I got your back.
I don't know. You got to come to a race after you see one of these cars run. Then you let me know if you want to get in it. I tell people all the time, you know, sometimes you get in this car and you could take a fan out of the stands and just hold the steering wheel straight. And other times it tries to kill you. The problem is you never know which one you're going to get until you hit the throttle. But we love to have you guys come out to a race.
I'd give it a go anytime.
Bob Tasca, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.